Good morning. If you can stand, if you're willing and able, our opening hymn is in the teal hymnal, number 1010, We Give Thanks. Yeah, actually, if you could go through it one time before, that'd be great. Good morning. The welcome is by Gwen Matthews. Blessings of gratitude, celebration, and support. Today, we're thankful for you and what you bring to our church. Your spirit, talents, generosity, imagination, and dedication reaffirm our fellowship and create our beloved community. Our heartfelt thanks to you on this day and for all the days to come. For those who embrace Thanksgiving as a day to honor the gifts of family and friendship, abundance, security, we celebrate with you and join our voices to hold aloft all sacred blessings. For those of you that hold Thanksgiving as a day of sadness, those who mourn for the hurt and loss of Native peoples, those who are lonely, those who grieve for the loss of those dear and beloved, we hold your heartache and sorrow so you do not have to carry the burden alone. Blessings be upon you. Good morning, I'm Jennifer, your worship leader. Bill is our beautiful musician. Nancy in the back is controlling the technicians' technical aspects here. And then Molly is at home doing that end of the technical work. We're glad you're here. If you're a guest today and are willing and able to do so, we invite you to stand and tell us who you are and where you're from. Do we have any guests today that want to self-report?
My name is Julie Prince, and I'm from Evansville. I've always wanted to come, and today's the day. Thank you.
Molly, do we have any? Please, Phil. Molly, do we have anyone at home that wants to self-report? Oh, well, again, if they want to self-report, that's up to them. Molly, do we have anyone at home?
I don't think so.
Thank you. Now let us transform our welcoming statement into action by taking a few moments to greet one another.
Are we going to do announcements? I do have somebody.
Oh, so
Somebody
sorry.
with
Yes,
announcements.
we skipped over
Yeah.
announcements. Thank you. Do we have any in-house announcements? Please come to the microphone if you're here.
Good morning. Couple of things. If you are planning to do Thanksgiving here at the church and have not yet signed up, really do it now so that Chris knows how to plan, who's bringing what and how to handle the dinner and so on and so forth. Everyone is invited. All you have to do is sign your name and tell them what you want to bring. The church is providing, and Chris is cooking, the turkey and the dressing, and he will make it up lovely, and it will be great. And there's a list of side dishes that are still needed on the visitors table where you came in. Also, our next Friends Night Out is coming up on December 6th, which is a Wednesday. Got all that right, yeah? Barbara's my date checker. Sometimes I make up numbers. It's a Wednesday this time because we figured that your weekends are pretty precious right now with the holidays. So it'll be Wednesday night, December the 6th. We're going to Log In, which is in Hopstadt. It is a family-style dinner. They're famous for their fried chicken, but they also have a choice of ham or roast beef or I think something else. And then all of the sides are family-style. It will be at 6:15 instead of 6 because we're giving you an extra 15 minutes to get there. So there's 3 things you have to note. It's Wednesday, not Friday. If you get there the wrong day, we can't help it. It's 6:15, not 6. If you get there at the wrong time, you just wait 15 minutes. But the big one is they don't take credit cards. So check it out. They do take checks, which nobody does anymore, I don't know, but cash or check, so you might want to check out in advance, look at the menu, see what you want to buy so that you're prepared for that, because that's a harder one to solve at the spur of the moment. There's a sign-up sheet on the guest table again, the visitors table. I really should know by the 2nd, because they're closed Sunday and Monday. But if you can let me know at very latest by Tuesday, that would be the 5th, please do so. We do have a reservation and they are very booked this time of year, so I don't want to book any seats in advance that we don't use. So please sign up for that. It's going to be fun. We thought that would be a nice change for the holidays to have a family-ish and historic kind of traditional dinner.
Good morning. My name is Tom. I have 2 quick announcements. One thing, first of all, Jennifer, this altar and table is just beautiful and meaningful, and thank you for your thought and care about that, and anyone else that was involved, who I don't know, but it's a spectacular and meaningful presence. Announcements, well, also FYI, Dave's Sports Den takes checks if they know you. So if you ever want to go, I will vouch for you because they know me. Just put that with however, or take that with however many grains of salt you wish. 2 quick things. Many of you know I'm a member of Veterans for Peace, and on December 8th, which is the anniversary of John Lennon's death, we have John Lennon Night at the Boca Lounge. Costs $10 to get in, and people will play John Lennon music, a variety of acts. And any money raised this year is going to Combatants for Peace, which is a group of Israeli and Palestinian vets who are looking to, working to solve the conflict in the Middle East peacefully, and not just who has the bigger toys. And that's again December 8th from 6 to 9. That's a Friday night, I think. So you can put that down. Also, a couple of weeks ago, we had a service about ways to use our resources and assets in broader ways. And so we're going to form a committee to look at how to actualize some of those things. We will start that after the first of the year. It's going to be impossible to do anything during the holidays. If you're interested in pursuing those agenda, see me and so I can start knowing who's interested, and then we can set a meeting at the first of the year. So thank you.
Any other in-house announcements? Molly, you can take it from there.
Okay, Deborah, go ahead. Unmute you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Deborah, and the announcement today is that the third Crony celebration will be on December 17th. That's a Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And there will be information in the newsletter for signing up. Please talk to any women of a certain age that might be interested in having a little communion with other women of a certain age for the evening. It is a wonderful opportunity to share your accomplishments over the past years and your thoughts on motherhood and your feelings toward the future. So please, if you are in that age group or you know someone who is, let me know. And again, the information will be in the newsletter. Thanks.
Any other announcements from folks at home, Molly?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, now let's transform our welcoming statement into action by taking a few moments to greet one another. Before you stand up and start doing that, could you wave to the folks at home? And please return to your seats when you hear the chime. The centering music will play.
But we've seen what go on today, Sunday, you know, that Sunday special every day on TV. It was all about the pawpaw, and Texas State University is trying to recreate a pawpaw that they can sell in the state. They have 17 different pawpaw trees, 17 different states. Yeah, Kentucky, University.
We are blessed to have Bill. Now for the Chalice Lighting. Do I have a volunteer, please? The Chalice Lighting is by Lee Kenneth, a true story. This chalice lighting is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are and other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting, not by numbers, but by silence, by wild abandon. With a brush you made yourself from deep inside. Startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. Now it's time for the offertory. If you are a guest, please let your plate pass. Your presence is the gift. May I have 2 volunteers, please? The offertory reading is by Victoria Weinsman. The offering as hospitality. I hope you all had the opportunity to meet someone new this morning. And I certainly hope to meet all of the first-timers guests this morning after the service. If you don't get a chance to talk to me, feel free to make use of the connection information printed on the order of service. If you'd like to chat about our congregation or the universe or about Unitarian Universalism, I'm sure that all of our members are also willing and ready to make the same offer. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accordance with our principles, mission, and vision. We are an independent member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, an association of approximately 1,000 congregations in this country and elsewhere in the world. Our congregation is entirely self-governed and financially supported by the voluntary generosity of our members and friends. To this end, let there be an offering to sustain the work of this beloved community. This morning, the offering will be greatly received. Now it's time for the story for all ages. Any kids that want to come forward? Yeah, where is it? Oh, yeah, it's way over there. Thanks for your technical assistance. Yeah. Ki Pumamuk, a Thanksgiving story. And I'm not reading the entire book. It'll take a little too much time. I love your garden this time of year, said Maple. Me too. What shall we pick for lunch? Nukamumas asked. How about crab apples? No, chokeberries, Quill shouted. Both of those are good medicine. How about some wikuma as well? Yes, said Maple, she is such a good big sister to Beans and Squash. The three sisters, they grow together, Quill added. You're right. They feed people all over Turtle Island, Nikumas said, and they have many stories to tell. Can you tell us a story? Quill asked. How about the time Wikuma asked our Wampanoag ancestors to help the pilgrims? The first Thanksgiving? Some people call it that. We call it Kimumuk, the time of harvest. Here's what really happened. One frosty fall morning, a long time ago, a large boat with white sails approached the shore. Seagulls circled above the boat, squawking. New people are coming, new people are coming. Hearing the news, the Weekumum stretched out her weary ears towards the sky. Who are these new people? Two winters had passed since many of the first people who cared for Weekumum passed into the spirit world. Those who were not taken by sickness found new homes to ease their heavy hearts and rebuild their lives. Weekumum feared this winter would be her last and called upon Fox for help. Fox looked up at Weekumum. Should we trust these newcomers, he asked. Stay close and watch what they do. Fall turned into winter. Weekumum and the other plants fell asleep. Fox watched the newcomers come ashore. He watched as they made their way into the forest. He watched them enter and abandon Witu. He watched them take a cooking pot and a basket of Weekumum seeds. Don't take us away, the seeds cried. We are waiting for the first peoples to come back in the spring to prepare our beds. We must grow first. But the newcomers could not hear the seeds. Their ears did not know the voices of the land. Fox watched the newcomers build homes on top of an empty village. He watched as they searched for food, but they could never find enough to eat. Many of the newcomers lost mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters during the long, cold winter. The first peoples watched as well. News traveled fast among the nearby tribes that newcomers have arrived. Nobody was sure what to make of them. For many years, others had traveled across the sea to hunt, fish, and trade. Some were friendly, some were not. These new people seemed different. They were here to stay. Winter turned into spring. The sun warmed the earth. The newcomers continued to search for food. Weekumum awoke from her long slumber and thanked the Creator for another season. She and her sisters, Beans and Squash, pushed through the ground and reached towards the sky. Fox returned to share what he had seen. The newcomers are hungry, Fox told the three sisters. They took Weekumum's seeds, but they don't know how to help them grow. Other animals came to hear what Fox had said. We should help, Weekamum said. I agree, Beans said. Our home is their home now. I think we should too, said Squash. People help us grow. We must help, Deer said. We agree to feed the people. In return, they care for the home we share. I wouldn't, said Fox. The newcomers don't know our world. Sometimes new people can seem scary, Rabbit said. The Creator tells us to help all living things. This is how the world works. Yes, said Duck, and Turkey agreed. It's settled, said Weekamum. We will share and send the first peoples to help the newcomers. Over the next few nights, Weekamum sent dreams to the first peoples with a message. Bring me and my sisters to the newcomers. They are hungry and need help. The first peoples listened. Their leader, Oskoshaman, visited the newcomers. He could see that they wanted peace. Akasam introduced the newcomers to Tisk Quantum. Spring turned into summer. Tisquatum showed the newcomers how to raise Weekamum and her sisters, Beans and Squash. He taught the newcomers how to feed fish and seaweed to Weekamum to help her grow. Soon, Weekamum scenes pushed through the earth and climbed towards the sky. Beans wrapped around Weekamum's strong stalks. Squash spread her vines across the ground, keeping Weekamum's bed cool and moist. Summer turned into fall. Weekamum brimmed with food. So did Beans and Squash. Weekamum smiled as the newcomers thanked Tisquatum and the first peoples for their help. Keep Pomuk, the first of the harvest, had come. The newcomers prepared a feast to celebrate the first year in their home. They fired muskets in celebration. Boom, boom, boom. Osquaquin, warriors, and other First Peoples arrived. They feasted for 3 days. The meal changed both our lives and theirs forever. Many Americans called it a day of Thanksgiving. Many of our people call it a day of mourning. That's different from what we learned in school, said Maple. It was Weekamum and the other beings of the land, sea, and sky who made the newcomers' first harvest possible. That's right, said Nikomus. This is why we pray before we eat. Well, what did the newcomers and our ancestors eat? Quill asked. Many things. Succotash, duck, turkey, rabbit, deer, lobster, fish, pumpkins, cranberries, boiled bread, and namas. All this talk about food is making me hungry, Maple said. Let's go make some lunch then, said Nickam and laughed, and we'll enjoy every bite. There's more to the story, mostly about realistic, fact-based history that the Pilgrim story we hear leaves out. Now, the children are going to be going to their own activities. activities. And if you want to sing them out, you can find the words on number 413 in the gray hymnal, Now Go in Peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. The opening words are by Isabel Call, and this was written November of 2018. A Thanksgiving reflection. I want to tell you about my bicycle. The frame is sparkly, kind of a blue, and it has pink handlebar tape. And guess what color the wheels are? Lime green. I love my bicycle. Now suppose it was your bicycle. And suppose one day you biked to school and totally forgot to lock your bike when you got there. And then when it was time to leave, you went outside to get your bike and no bike. It was stolen. Bah. Okay, so you had to get a ride home and figure out how to get to school from now on. Then in art class, the next week, someone brings in a sculpture of a turkey they've made. It has a sparkly blue body made of pieces of metal, a big round tail with lime green circle around it, and pink feet circling underneath it, and a bicycle seat for a head. In fact, the whole thing is made from a bicycle, and you realize it's your bicycle, your former, stolen, cut up into pieces bicycle. Before you can say anything, your classmates are cheering, and the principal decides to make the sculpture the new school mascot, and she institutes a new school holiday called Turkey Creativity Day. And every year from now on, everyone gets to spend a whole day making art. Now, nothing against creativity, but this is kind of a nightmare. I'm telling you this story because it's basically the story of Thanksgiving, except Thanksgiving is worse. I've started writing and saying Thanksgiving instead of Thanksgiving. Because in popular culture, we've come to see Thanksgiving as a commemoration of a friendly feast shared by Native Americans and European settlers. But this is like Turkey Creativity Day. A really nice idea that covers up theft, and treachery. Although both Native Americans and Europeans had feasts expressing gratitude during harvest time, the Europeans who arrived on this continent were incredibly destructive to Native American communities. The Wampanoag man, who was often celebrated as a friend to the Pilgrims, Tisquantum spoke English because traders had enslaved him and forcibly taken him to England. When he finally escaped and made his way back home, his community had all died from smallpox his captors had left behind. He was friendly to the Pilgrims who moved into the land of his people because none of his people were left. He was able to find work with the Pilgrims as a translator and helped them negotiate treaties. But as we know, treaties between European settlers and Indigenous residents of the Americas have not been honored by the new arrivals. Although there's some evidence of a shared meal between Europeans and the Wampanoag people in 1621, the holiday may actually have started a few decades later. In May 1637, when English and Dutch mercenaries attacked the Pequot tribe, they killed over 700 people. And the next day, the governor of Massachusetts colony declared a day of Thanksgiving in celebration. Since then, various governors and presidents called for a day of Thanksgiving to commemorate various events, but it didn't get formalized into an annual holiday until Abraham Lincoln chose a Thursday in November in 1863 to celebrate a Civil War victories. Now, nothing against gratitude, but the legacy of Thanksgiving is a nightmare. The 400-year-old story we've heard about harmony between people of different backgrounds just isn't true. The United American Indians of New England have commemorated a National Day of Mourning every fourth Thursday in November since 1970. They write, Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of Native lands, and the relentless assaults on Native culture. Participants in the National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggles of Native peoples to survive today. It is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as a protest of the racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience. It may be uncomfortable to hear this as you prepare your Thanksgiving festivities. We celebrate Thanksgiving because gratitude is essential to human life. But grief is essential for healing our history of violence. And it's hard to be thankful and sorrowful at the same time. But this is life. Sometimes joy and sorrow come together. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. Joys can be shared openly in community. That last pebble is for those that we hold close in the heart. Now let's take a moment of silent meditation, prayer, or contemplation. Then we will sing from hymn number 123 in the gray hymnal, Spirit of Life. been a lot to process already in the service. So the way Europeans dealt with the people and the land in these new discovered, but not really discovered because they were already there and people were already there, lands. A lot of times what is not discussed in the Pilgrim story is the reason that the Europeans felt so free to behave the way they did in the new lands. And I didn't learn about the doctrine of discovery until I was well into my adulthood. Do you know what the doctrine of discovery is? Yeah, I didn't either. So the doctrine of discovery was a papal bull that the Pope in Rome basically declared that Europeans had the right to do whatever they wanted because they were Christian. They could steal, rape, enslave, murder, torture, because these new peoples weren't Christian. So they had the right to any unchristian land to do what they like in these new lands to these new people. So with that edict, and the doctrine of discovery has been used in legal courts up until very recent times. And I don't know if this is for sure, but I heard this at a Unitarian Universalist lecture when I was at one of the GAs, was that even the Obama administration used the doctrine of discovery in one of the court cases. So that has been a foundational concept on why Europeans have behaved the way they have in these lands that were new to them, to the peoples that they considered less than. So that's number one. I didn't know that. So that's the foundation. And the next thing that I didn't know was that because of these earlier Europeans that had been coming to the Americas, both North and South, they brought European diseases. So a lot of these lands were already decimated to the 900%. So in the Pilgrim story, they came and just, oh, this is a little village here that we can just build on top of it. So it had already been, cleared and dwellings were there and, so they kind of had an advantage from the start, even though it was a really tough winter for that first group. Actually, they weren't the first group because there was another group of settlers that in a slightly different location that did completely perish. But with this group, they lost a lot of people, because it was very harsh and they didn't know how to provide for themselves for foodstuffs, right? So that's the next thing. So they had an advantage already. So there was no resistance from the native peoples because they had already been decimated by disease. Can you imagine if it was different and they had their full populations that maybe could resist when these people did get violent? It would be a completely different story. So those are two things that already weakened the native populations of these continents prior to colonialization, right? So there's those two things. And I didn't know either of those things until my adulthood. I didn't know about the smallpox decimating villages within a 300-mile radius of New England until this year. And I've been studying this for a while and been aware of some of the practices that I'm not proud of as a person that has grown up in this country, right? So those are two things. And then you come in and then you get the history we have, and then you get the whitewashing of the history that we have, and that's where we are today. So One of the things that I wanted to do and why I presented this table is that I still enjoy Thanksgiving, but I enjoy it as an opportunity to more formally express gratitude and thanks for the abundance I have in my life, not just material abundance, but intellectual and spiritual abundance I have. And that's what I wanted to introduce with this table. Because the thing that's unique about all these items, do you know what that is? They're native to the Americas, not necessarily North America. Like someone mentioned, the avocados don't grow in North America, but they are native to the Americas. And there's other foodstuffs that are not on the table, like peanuts, like vanilla, like the cacao that makes chocolate. That's why I just have the chocolate bar to represent that. But all of these foods are native to these lands. And I didn't know this until this year. 60% of food population or food that are consumed globally are now native from the Americas, which is kind of amazing. I mean, we think of the potato and Irish, but they didn't get the potato until after colonization. And Italians and the tomato. You know, who knew that the tomato came from the Americas, right? So there's so much of our food that are historically European, like the Swiss make chocolate. Well, it's not native to Switzerland. So there's so many things that we don't know about our food sources. So what I think that we could do is, no matter how you might celebrate Thanksgiving in your own life in 2023, to think of all these foods that you might be
There's many, many more.
like maple syrup, like the tomatillos, like, I mean, there's so many foods. And that's not even the greens and the wild foliage that's native to this continent or this Americas. So feel free to come up and examine these. I've got little bowls and spoons if you want to sample anything. I've got Ziploc bags of a little sample portion if you want to take a piece of something and then use in celebration this week, maybe at your Thanksgiving table or not. But enjoy for just a few minutes. And then after we do a little bit of sampling and or observation, I'd like to share some of your Thanksgiving stories, observations, memories, or aspirations. Oh, forward? Right.
So if you don't want to come up, these are two squashes. That's acorn and this is butternut. Thank you. These are sweet potatoes and these are potatoes. Those are tomatoes. Those are avocados. Prawns. Prawns. Black walnut. I don't know if these are black, but black walnut, I think. Sesame seeds. Those are pumpkin seeds. Cranberries. Chili. I had to have the corn. Oh, I forgot the beans. Dried beans. Beans are also native. Chocolate for the cacao, blueberries, blackberries, and again, this is just the same thing. And this is what that is.
And there's spoons. And there's, David, there's spoons back here. So now that you've looked at the table and thought about the foodstuffs that are native to the Americas, if you would like to share some of your Thanksgiving thoughts, please come to the microphone. Before you start, I just want to let the people at home know that on this table, we have sweet potatoes, 2 kinds of squash, potatoes, tomatoes, avocados, blueberries, blackberries, corn, chilies, pecan, black walnut, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds, cranberries, and chocolate. We do not have maple syrup and we do not have vanilla. So think of all of those foodstuffs and other native foods when you prepare your Thanksgiving meal.
I just want to throw out a couple of other things here. One of them is you were talking about potatoes being native in Peru. They have 204 kinds of potatoes. They're really the essence of potatoes, which you'd think of Ireland, and not so. The other thing is, if you live along the Mexican border, you find out that there was another Thanksgiving that was before the Pilgrims were even here. About 30 miles east of El Paso in the desert, there's a little town called San Elizario. And the Catholic missionaries came up long before the Pilgrims landed, and they joined with the, as the story goes, the Native Americans there and had a feast to celebrate the fact that they had food together and that sort of thing. I don't know if this story had a happier ending than the Pilgrim's story, I do know that they still celebrate there. They have outdoor Thanksgiving and people come to this town square and eat not dinner rolls, but corn tortillas and whatever they would have had at the time. But I do know that the Catholic missionaries in the long run did not treat the American Indians very well. They enslaved them and tortured them and so on. But maybe for that day, they had a happy day. But still, let's be thankful for what we've got.
Jennifer mentioned this in the Story for All Ages, but when I lived in Tucson, I learned about what's called the Three Sisters that she mentioned, and the Tohono O'odham tribe and the Navajo tribe there, they grow the Three Sisters. Corn, because that's a tall stalk. Then they grow beans, and the beans grow up along the corn. And as she said in the story, the squash grows along the ground and keeps the ground cool and moist. And it's a lot different than the monocropping that people tend to do now, but I had never heard about that till I moved out there, and it's such a wise way of growing food. And the beans and the corn together make a perfect protein. So it seems like a really wonderful way to do things. I wish that agriculture today could do more of that.
Anybody at home want to have a thought on Thanksgiving?
Jen does.
Yeah, when I was about the quick about the cropping, I also really don't like the monocropping system today, and the um the stripping of all the topsoil and ruining of, like, I know the world is, or I don't know about the world, at least the US is almost out of topsoil because of monocropping. And um that's just, yeah, I agree that that's a really horrible thing, and I wish we didn't do it. As far as memories, oh, one other thing about the smallpox, and I learned maybe in high school about the smallpox blankets, how um the settlers, the colonists, would intentionally distribute blankets among the native peoples that were contaminated with smallpox in order to wipe out and decimate the tribes faster. As far as memories, I have a really great memory of a Thanksgiving celebration my third grade class did in Southeast Pennsylvania outside of Philly, where we prepared for at least 2 weeks, where for a big all third grade class feast, they got rid of the divider between two classrooms. We had a great big double classroom, and we dressed up. We had half of us dressed. It was very whitewashed. Half of us dressed up as pilgrims. I was a pilgrim woman or girl, and half of us dressed up as American Indians, Native people. And for 2 weeks we prepared. We churned butter. We had cream, heavy cream, in little empty baby food jars, and we would take turns shaking it, and we made our own butter. We each brought a dish. I think I brought cornbread. And we had a big feast, and we had a big celebration, and unfortunately it was very whitewashed, but that's always been a very fond memory I have of Thanksgiving as a child.
Thank you. And our closing hymn is in your teal hymn book. It is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Please stand if you're willing and able. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom of each of us, every color, creed, and moon and kind, when we see each other's and each other's eyes, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, when we listen with a loving mind, and we hear each voices in each other's words. Heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space and the God of our hearts is within, when we feel the power of each other's faith, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, heart is in a holy place. The words to extinguish the flame are in your order of service. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth. The closing words were adapted with permission from the service Nurturing Beauty, delivered at the First Parish in Malden, Massachusetts on May 22nd, 2022. And the full sermon is available at the UUA website. Beauty is not a distraction from the troubles of the world. We are here not to protect our hearts from breaking. A broken heart is full of beauty. Frederick Buechner said, "Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid. It's the terrible things that put the beauty in sharp relief. My message to you is to allow yourself to see that beauty, find it, to create it amidst the reality of our world, to treasure the fleetingness of it, and let it go. It's a way to survive. It's an act of rebellion to see this true beauty around it. May it be so." May you go in peace, and may your presence bless the world. I'll take him to the kitchen.